Get ready for an adrenaline-fueled adventure as we delve into the unforgettable story of the Great Train Robbery of 1963. On August 8th, a group of daring bandits brought England to its knees with a bold daylight heist of a mail train, stealing over $2.6 million in cash. The stakes were high, the crime was audacious, and the aftermath was a gripping tale of mystery and excitement. With the masterminds behind the mask, the police embarked on a relentless manhunt that lasted months, leading to one of the most sensational trials in British history. Join us as we uncover the truth behind the Great Train Robbery of 1963, a mesmerizing tale of cunning and bravery that still sends shivers down our spines. Planning of the robbery. A daring heist was in the works when a group of criminals received insider information from a senior security officer at Royal Mail. This key figure introduced Gordon Goody and Buster Edwards to a solicitor's clerk, setting the stage for their next big job. The core team, led by mastermind Bruce Reynolds, spent months perfecting their plan to rob the overnight Glasgow to London mail train. With limited experience in this type of crime, they brought in the South Coast Raiders, a London gang with a proven track record in train robbery. This elite group included specialists like Roger Corddry, who would manipulate the track signals. As the plan unfolded, more associates joined the crew, including notorious outlaw Ronnie Biggs. In the end, 16 men were in on the daring heist of the overnight Glasgow to London mail train. The mail train heist of 1963. A high-value target. On August 7, 1963, the up-special TPO train embarked on a journey from Glasgow Central to Euston Station in London. The train, powered by the English electric Type 4 diesel locomotive, was comprised of 12 carriages and had 17 post office workers aboard who sorted mail during the trip. Mail was loaded and dropped off at various stops and collection points, allowing for efficient distribution without delay. One of the carriages, the HVP coach, was dedicated to carrying high-value packages and registered mail worth millions. But on this day, the estimated value was between $2.5 to $3 million. In 1960, the Post Office Investigation Branch recommended adding alarms to TPO trains with HVP, or high-value package carriages. But the implementation was only partially done by the time of the robbery. Unfortunately, the 3 HVP carriages with alarms were out of service, so a reserve carriage without these security measures had to be used. Radios were also considered but deemed to be too expensive. This reserve carriage was kept as evidence for 7 years after the incident and then burned at a scrapyard to prevent souvenir hunters. Stopping the train. At 3 a.m. on August 8th, a daring train heist took place on the West Coast Main Line. Jack Mills, a 58-year-old driver from Crewe, stopped the train at a red signal light at Sears Crossing in Ledbury. The robbers had tampered with the signal by covering the green light and turning on the red one. David Whitby, the 26-year-old second crew member, went down from the cab to make a call, only to find the phone lines had been cut. He was overpowered by one of the robbers. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang entered the engine cabin, and as Mills fought back, he was hit from behind and knocked out. The robbers needed to move the train to Britigo Bridge to unload the money. One of the robbers had spent months infiltrating the railway staff to gather information. However, it was decided that an experienced driver was needed, and Jack Mills was forced to move the train to the bridge. The robbers had hired a train driver, but he was unable to operate the newer type locomotive. With no other options, Mills was forced to do the job, guided only by a white sheet stretching between poles on the track. Ronnie Biggs was tasked with supervising the driver, but when it became clear he couldn't drive the train, he and Biggs were sent to help load the stolen bags. A daring heist in the night. On the night of Britigo Bridge, the notorious gang of robbers struck the high-value packages carriage of the train. The brave Frank Dewhurst led 3 postal workers, Leslie Penn, Joseph Ware, and John O'Connor, into the targeted carriage. Assistant Inspector Thomas Kett was also present, but the robbers' violent attack left Dewhurst and Kett badly beaten after a valiant but failed attempt to fend off the attackers. With no police backup, the carriage staff was forced to the ground, helpless, as the robbers made off with all but 8 of the 128 valuable sacks. In a calculated heist, the robbers swiftly transferred the loot to their waiting truck using a human chain, then drove off in a misdirection, using 2 Land Rovers with the license plates BMG 757A, a full 30 minutes after the daring raid began. Getaway and planned cleanup. The criminal gang took a scenic route along back roads, monitoring police updates on a VHF radio, arriving at Leathersdale Farm around 4:30 a.m. The rundown farm, located 27 miles from the crime scene, was their hideout, purchased 2 months prior. At the farm, they divided their loot, with each full share worth approximately £150,000. The police were closing in, having determined the gang was hiding within a 30-mile radius of the crime scene. The gang brought forward their escape plan to Friday due to the police's fast pace in finding them. They needed new vehicles as the ones used to get to the farm had been seen by train staff. The farm was supposed to be cleaned out and burned down, but the person hired for the job failed to do so. The other members of the gang were suspicious and confronted the person responsible. Unfortunately, by the time they returned to the farm, the police had already discovered their hideout. A tale of cash and consequence. The exact amount of cash stolen from the train remains a mystery, with different sources quoting varying figures. The press states it was £2,631,684. However, the police investigation reveals the theft to be £2,595,997 in tins packed in 120 mail bags with 336 packages. The majority of the stolen money was comprised of £1 and £5 notes in both older white and newer blue versions, with smaller amounts of 10-shilling notes and foreign currency. Despite a 30-minute deadline set by Reynolds, 8 out of the 128 bags were left behind, potentially amounting to $131,000 or 4.7% of the total. According to former Buckinghamshire police officer John Woolley, the weight of the stolen bags was estimated to be 2.5 tons. As for the gang, they made use of the stolen money by playing a game of Monopoly while hiding at a farmhouse. Raising the alarm. The robbers revered all the nearby telephone lines in a cunning attempt to avoid detection, but their plan was foiled by a lucky railman who was left behind on the train at Sears Crossing. With quick thinking, he hopped onto a passing goods train and raced to Cheddington, where he raised the alarm at 4:20. Within mere minutes, the news of the daring heist spread like wildfire, as the first reports of the robbery were broadcast on VHF police radio. Little did the gang know their audacious crime had been exposed, and they were in for a shock when they heard the announcement. A robbery has taken place, and you won't believe it. They've stolen the whole train. In conclusion, the Great Train Robbery remains a remarkable event in British history, captivating audiences with its daring and audacity. Despite the infamy of the robbers involved and the notoriety of the crime, it's become a part of popular culture, appearing in movies, video games, novels, and songs. The question remains, will there ever be another Great Train Robbery? Only time will tell, but history has a way of repeating itself, and the prospect of another heist of this magnitude is always possible. Until then, the Great Train Robbery will continue to be remembered as the heist of the century. So there you have it. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. Until next time.